Las Maestras Center for Chicana, Chicanx, Chicanax, Indigenous Thought, Art, and Social Practice is that we believe that, that the body knows, that we know that our body carries information, and our job as artists is to try to access that. And our job as thinkers, and that's the same principle. And so these are two of the best thinkers, artists that I could ever recommend to you. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit, I'll give little bios on each of them, and they're going to do their own thing back and forth to each other. And then at the end, if there's time, we'll ask a couple of questions, and if there's time, we'll open it up to some discussion. So I just, bienvenido, so everybody, thank you for being here. Sharon, Omi, I'm really happy, I'm happy. So Sharon Bridgeforth is a Doris Duke performing artist. She's a writer that creates ritual jazz theater. And a 2020 to 2023 Playwright Center core member. Sharon has received support from Creative Capital, a really very, very impressive grant, the MAP Fund, the National Performance Network, and is a new dramatist alumni. Sharon has served as a dramaturg for the Urban Bushwomen, the Choreographic Center Initiative's Choreographic Fellowship Program, and has been in residence with Brown University's MFA Playwriting Program, the University of Iowa's MFA Playwrights Program, the Theater School at DePaul University, and also the organization ALGO, Texas statewide QPOC organization, and the Department of Performance Studies at Northwestern University. Sharon's publications include Love Conjure Blues and the Lambda Literary Award winning The Bull Jean Stories. And that's the first piece I ever heard. She tore me up reading that thing. It's one thing to read it on the page. It's fabulous to read on the page, but to watch Sharon perform is off the hook. Sharon is co-editor with Omi Osun, Joni L. Jones, and Lisa Lynn Moore of Experiments in a Jazz Aesthetic Art, Activism, Academia, and the Austin Project, and is the host of the Who Your People Is podcast series. And she has a really, really great website at SharonBridgeforth.com. Omi Osun Joni L. Jones is an artist, scholar, facilitator who employs Black feminist aesthetics in her performance work, her pedagogy, and her facilitation. Her performance venues include the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, the New Black Fest, and Lynx Hall. And her most recent book is Theatrical Jazz. This is a beautiful book too. A performance, Ashe, and the Power for the Present Moment. Really, really amazing book. And we'll open you up to some of the, like a handful of really, really key artists that we should be paying attention to. And that came out of Ohio State University Press. She's a professor emerita from the African and African Diaspora Studies Department of the University of Texas at Austin. So gracias por venir, mujeres. It's all yours.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, it's good to be here, to see familiar faces and to see new ones, because we all get blended into the fold when we do this kind of work together. We are both so grateful for the invitation from Cherie and Celia to be here. And even though we are working in this electronic medium, we're going to find some intimacy, we're going to find some subtlety, we're going to make some connection. And that's where I'd like us to start. If you are willing, close your eyes for a little bit. We're just going to breathe together for a little while. If you prefer, put your eyes in a kind of soft focus. Just feel relaxed. Your back should be supported by a chair or just by your muscles. If you want to sit forward a bit, feet flat on the floor, the ground, if that's comfortable for you. Hands up if you want to receive some energy. Hands up in your lap, or turn your hands down if you feel the need on this evening to be a little bit more grounded. So for just a little bit, as you find this relaxed state, just breathe on your own. Feel your own breath. Know it. Embrace it. And as you are breathing, I want to acknowledge the Kiz, the Tongva, the population that once was quite plentiful in the land where Sharon and I are now, Los Angeles County. Today, they number about 1,700 in LA County, and they are working to get federal recognition. And I thank them for being stewards of the land that Sharon and I now live on. I want to thank the divine forces of nature that allow us to wake up every day. The air and the water, the soil, the sun, the moon, the stars, the beaches, the forests, the mountains, the crossroads. I'd like to acknowledge my ancestors of goodwill who dreamed me up, thought that I could carry on some work that they may have had in their dimmest imagination. And here I am. Here we are, all are. The dreams of our ancestors of goodwill. Again, to thank Cherie and Celia for their vision, their determination, their friendship, their understanding of what collaboration really is. That's why we're here. I'd like us to now move toward breathing a little bit together. On your next inhale, if you will expand your rib cage, keep your shoulders low, and exhale as you ordinarily would. So do that for a few breaths. Specific inhale, your own exhale. On your next exhale, join that inhale you just did with an exhale that brings your navel back towards your spine so you push out as much air as you can. On your own, those two parts, inhale and exhale. And let's bring it together. Let us collaborate. Let's do the next inhale together, nice and full, all together. Expand that rib cage. And now let's exhale together, navel to spine, making sound with our mouths. Another inhale together. Nice and strong, nice and full, shoulders down. And let's exhale together, making sound. And the last one together. Inhale. And exhale. Return to your natural breathing. If your eyes were closed, gently open them. If you had a soft focus, come back to a sharp focus. And find a set of eyes to land on. Somebody you don't know. Now, we know the way Zoom works. They may be looking somewhere else. That's okay. You find some eyes, land on those eyes, and in your silence, thank them for coming. Tell them that you're grateful they're here in silence. Find another set of eyes, someone new. And Sharon and I are participating too. Thank them in your silence for coming. Everyone who's present is exactly what is needed. Wonderful. Now, in the spirit of getting us to be even more comfortable, more in sync with one another, I'm going to do a gesture. And then I'm going to ask you to imitate that gesture. We're going to play around with that for a little while, all right? Okay. So here we go. Let's see, how about, so play with me with this gesture. If your body is willing and able. Excellent, look at that, look at that. Now I'm gonna change it up a little bit and we'll see if you can follow. There we go. Now, I'm going to invite anyone, and you may have to toggle between screens. Change this up, and we're gonna have a little chaos. Oh, I saw this. Anybody else want to change this? Again, you may have to toggle to another screen, which is what I'm gonna try to do right now. Oh, we got other things going on. Okay. We got lots. Oh, more, that's right. We get to make our own jazz choreographed ensemble here. That's right. Cherie said earlier that the body stores memories. Absolutely. And now we get to add this to the wealth of the memories. Woo! And relax that if you would. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Playing restores us to our vulnerability and allows us to be better prepared for whatever is ahead. So thank you for that preparation. It's excellent. I want to talk to you a little bit about something I have been chewing on for a while. We are in the middle of so many moments of transformation in so many different directions. People are talking a lot about healing. Everybody's talking about strategies for healing. What do we do? That word feels real complicated to me, healing. It feels like when people use it, people are referring to a return to something. When wounds occur, I'm not sure that return is really what's possible. Perhaps not even what's wanted, but a journey to balance and a journey to wholeness that figures out how to take the wounds and amalgamate them into our beings, into our spirits, so that we can be whole. So I've been thinking about this and thinking about it, thinking about it. And I turned to Yoruba language for some guidance. There is a Yoruba word, Iwosan, Iwosan, and it means moving to wholeness. And I thought, okay, yeah, that works for me as a way to think about healing. Move toward whole, not what one was before the wounds, but a wholeness that now is new and incorporates those wounds in a place of balance. Okay. So I'd like to invite you to go on this journey with me of exploring what in the world healing might be, could be. Some ideas that I hope will be useful in this moment and certainly prepare us for the Dia de los Muertos that's coming up as we journey to that in this series that Cherie and Celia have orchestrated for us. One of the first things I think should happen, can happen, when we think about healing and wholeness is to determine whether or not there's even a need. Some of us have grown accustomed to tamping down our wounds so fully just so we can get up out the bed the next day. So those wounds may be so buried that healing can't occur until we kind of say, okay, yeah, there's something up. I often know that something is up when I am unusually irritable. And then the people I live with figure out how to dance around me. I'm not angry with them. Something else is going on. Something else is happening, right? Or if I've got that low grade sadness that I can't quite shake and I can't quite name what the thing is, what else might be going on? I want you to think for yourselves about whether or not there's some healing that might need to happen. Healing can be very personal. Wounds that have been imposed upon us as individuals, but there's ancestral healing too. Wounds that our spirits carry from generation to generation to generation. And those, we're now learning, those land all up in our bodies too, even if they did not happen directly to us. There are also communal wounds from people we think of as kin. When they are wounded, we take that on psychically, and we now know even physically, okay? And when these wounds go unaddressed, we can experience many things: heart disease, diabetes, something called weathering, where our organs and our nerves are overtaxed. So the first practice I'd like you to engage in with me is the practice of identifying a healing. I think that you were asked to bring something to write with, and even if you didn't, you could grab something now. I really want you to take about a minute, maybe two, just to write about this notion of healing and what that might mean very specifically to you. What does healing mean to you? About 2 minutes. If you bring that to a close, if you look over what you wrote, underline something you think of as the core of it. It might be just one word. It might be a phrase or a sentence. What's that core thing around healing for you? And then 1 or 2 volunteers to read just the thing you underlined. We don't have to understand it. It's a way of putting your voice into the community, inspiring others to be vulnerable and take some risks. Anyone willing to volunteer to read just that phrase? Oh, and I see in the chat, no longer. Oh, Cherie, yes. And unmute.
I wrote converging and diverging.
Converging and diverging, thank you. Cherie?
No, I wasn't going to do it. I was just saying they could raise their hand symbol.
Oh, okay. And maybe one more person, Crystal?
I write in Spanish. So I said one of the lines that stood out was dejando el veneno salir.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And then from the chat, I see moving forward. Huh, nice. And maybe one more? One more voice in the mix? Holly.
Standing in my own power.
Wonderful. Now, hold on to all of that And I'm going to turn it over to Sharon to continue.
All right. So holding and breathing into what you are holding, being in this moment, seeing that you are not alone, knowing that in all directions of time we are held, we are loved, there's a vision for us to be powerfully ourselves. Just breathing and being together, I'm gonna pull some cards. The first card I'm gonna pull is from the DAT Black Mermaid Man Lady Them Blessing deck that I created. And these decks they are a part of a larger project that I did called DAT Black Mermaid Man Lady. And there's a lot of information on my website about that. But with these blessings, one of the things that I started thinking about was kind of a longing to tell my child self things that I know now. And so I started writing these blessings to my child self. And then after a little while, I started feeling like actually my child self was telling me things. And then a little further along, I started feeling like, oh, these are things that my adult daughter in her soul has she's told me, like I've learned from her. Kept writing, because you know how it is, the things just become themselves when you let them. I started to feel like, oh, these are the things that my mother wishes she could tell me and she'll never be able to tell me. And so I say them. And then at some point it became about, not so much about me or us, but became something else. So my question is always, what blessing does infinite love want us to receive? And of course, please, whatever feels authentic in terms of languaging and context and cosmology, please hold it that way. And I'll pull a blessing and then I'll offer a prompt for you to take away. So it's something that maybe later you journal with, or you draw, dance, compose, whatever you respond to on your own time. All right. Okay, it's number 35. Remember, you will have a daughter. She will save your life. She will love you despite your mistakes. She will forgive you. She will do her work. She will teach you. She will be free. She will shine. You will choose to live because of her. So the prompt that I would like to offer is, who is it that you love so much that you will do whatever it takes to be well and to be yourself most powerfully? So I'm going to write it down too. Who is it that you love so much that you will do whatever it takes to be yourself most powerfully? Okay. And now I'm going to pull a DAT Black Mermaid Man Lady Oracle card. And so the artist is Yasmin Hernandez. She did the visual art. The oracles, there are 9 of them, and they are actually characters from a show called DAT Black Mermaid Man Lady, the show. All of my work is within an African-American Southern migration history context, cultures, traditions, celebrations. And these particular characters kept talking, so I decided to make them oracles, and so they can talk as much as they want. The things that they say are text from the script, and they are within a Yoruba cosmology and within a African-American Southern migration cosmology. It is an ancestor deck, so it's all about love. It is an ocean deck, so it's about what's under the surface. So in this moment, thinking about our healing, thinking about what we're holding, thinking about finding the courage to love ourselves. In this moment, with all the things that we're holding, what does infinite love want us to know? Okay, it's Sweetie Junior. In the world of this piece, Sweetie Junior is about clarity. Sweetie Junior is Obatala, actually. Sweetie Junior, within the world of this piece, was someone that was, you know how like a lot of times we have so much sacred energy, but we don't know what to do with it. And we're so sensitive and there's so much trauma and there's so much that we're walking with that we kind of tilt. Sweetie Junior is kind of like that. But the old people in Sweetie Junior's world kind of snatched her up and helped her to become herself. Sweetie Junior says alignment. They be talking to the night, doing what need to be did for us, for all, taking care of whatever business need to be taken care of. Look like Sweetie Junior come back from she grandnana tasked to that. And so Sweetie Junior is offering alignment as an action to help us receive more clarity. And within the world of this piece, the prompt that I would offer, and in what Sweetie Junior just said to us, is what is it that you can receive from the ancestors to help you align with clarity more deeply right now? What is it that you can receive from the ancestors to help you align with clarity more deeply right now? So I'll also write this. All right. So okay, cool. Some of you were writing, which is great. And of course, you can return to this at some other time to amplify it, flesh it out. What I'd like us to do now is to take that question that Sharon asked you to consider. Who's that person you love so much? They love you so much that you are encouraged to be your most powerful self. Did I get it? Okay. What I want to invite you to do now, thinking about what you wrote earlier, your place of healing, the need for healing, I'd like you, as that person, write yourself a letter. Write yourself a letter about that healing space. What would this person who loves you so much and who you love so much want to tell you about you and the healing? Take 1 or 2 minutes now to
literally write some of that out.
Can you say it one more time?
Sure. Sharon invited everybody to think about this person who loves you so much and who you love so much that you are emboldened to be your very best self. In the voice, the spirit, the attitude of that person, write a letter to yourself about any spaces you may need for healing, any tender spots, any soft spots, anything that you'd like in the spirit of Iwo-san, of wholeness, to absorb, to amalgamate into who you are. And begin to bring that writing to a close, that letter, special letter to yourself. Look over that letter and see if there is something that seems like the essence of it, the core of the whole thing. And as you did before, underline that word or phrase or sentence that feels core in that letter. And will some volunteers put those voices in the mix? You can raise your hands. I'll move between the screens so I can find you.
Oh, Michaela.
Yes, Michaela.
Mija, breathe. Put your hand over your heart and have compassion for yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. It says
David,
MacBook,
David.
but, oh, David, okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
MacBook, you're muted.
Unmute.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you for having this conversation. I was inspired to speak out because my letter also starts with Mija. Mija. It's difficult to be the secure, confident person that you want me to be.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, and when I say beautiful, it means people are allowing themselves to be vulnerable in this context, and this vulnerability is priceless. Thank you very much. Another? Anyone else? I'll flip to the other. Oh, I missed.
Maria.
Maria.
Two Marias. Both
Okay.
Marias.
How about Maria Lugo first?
Hi.
Hi.
I had, well, one of the parts I had wrote is, you are an amazing woman. Because of you, I am strong. Because of you, I have learned not to ever give up. You can accomplish anything.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Maria.
Hey, good evening, everybody. You are whole, and all will be revealed.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let's see if there was someone. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, thank you.
That was a lot to put in the space, and it takes a lot of, a word that I use to describe it is virtuosity, because virtuosity to me is courage. That's, you know, when the soloist does their thing on the drum, that takes courage. Takes skill, takes some other things, but it also takes courage, and you've exhibited that kind of virtuosity that is needed. As you heard, many of us were witness to these wonderful expressions that were shared, and then some offered them up. I'd like you to think about where your own letter to yourself from your beloved, where that lands for you in your body. When you hear mija, and then that person speaks forward. When you're told that you're enough, where does that literally land in your body? You don't have to write this one, just imagine. Is it in your neck, your throat, your hands, your heart, the small of your back? Where does the force of that letter land for you physically? And with that in mind, I would like for us, we're going to see if we can do this simultaneously. Let's do a few, one at a time, and then we'll do it simultaneously. Just show us, how might you soothe that part? For me, all of that was landing in my heart. Frequently, big things land for me in this area. If you were to soothe that part of your body, where that story, that letter landed, what would that soothing look like? And I want, it's an improvisation, you know, no time to choreograph. I'd like a few of you to share with us, what's that gesture of soothing that that letter brings to you? I see some of you doing it now. EJ, is that a gesture? Yes, okay, all right. Oh, yes, David. David's is here. I think Julie just offered this. Why don't we all, and some of us are holding babies and some of us are doing things that might make it hard to do this simultaneously. But how about if, just as we were a chorus in movement before, let's offer some soothing in the places that we see on the screen. We see heart and temples, the back of the neck. Oh, and there's some rocking. Raquel is offering rocking as a kind of soothing, powerful soothing, adding a vibration. Oh, belly. Melissa, a friend from Austin, Texas, is offering the belly as a place of soothing. Circling the heart. Oh, rotating the neck. Luri is rotating the neck. All of these gestures are, oh, more, okay. All of these are possible to us as ways to begin to physically address the wounds. We know that the wounds may take time, lots of time to heal as we become whole in the spirit of Iwo-san. And now we've got gestures that can help us along, gestures that can help us communally generated gestures that can help us put these in our basket of tools toward healing. I'm going to now turn things over again to Sharon. Thank you, everybody.
So in closing, I want to offer 2 more cards. And this time I'll invite you to write your own prompts. I won't ask you to share them, but to write what comes through for you to carry forward, to meditate on, to walk with, to respond to. So the first is a blessing. And the question is, what blessing does infinite love want us to receive? And it's number 22. Remember, you are loved. You have all that you need. You are not alone. You are enough. You deserve to be happy. And when you cannot find the evidence of the truth of this, remember to breathe. So just take a moment and just write down for yourself something to carry away, to carry that forward, to respond to. All right. So bring that to a close, and I'll pull one more card. This time I'm pulling an oracle card, a Dat Black Mermaid Man Lady oracle card. The question is, what does infinite love want us to know right now? It's Miss Kitty. In the world of this piece, she's Oshun.
Oh, yeah.
And she says, be yourself. Feeling so pretty and all backed up with broken dreams and trouble, Merritt say he couldn't help it. He just had to open he mouth, let all he heart and soul release. Baby, it were legendary. The people's just lost their minds, got to falling out and jumping up and reaching for the hem of he-she garment. Merritt opened that crowd so wide till they started calling him Miss Kitty. So take a moment to write something that you received through that to carry forward. So if you would bring that to a close, and I'll turn it to Omi.
Ooh, all of this good work in the air, in the air, in the air. It's so powerful and important to bring this energy to a kind of closure, because we can return to it. We hope you will go to those prompts again, that you'll sit with these ideas, that you'll ruminate on whatever your experience was this evening. So to put, we'll call it a temporary closure in place, I'd like us to do a little more syncing up. And this time we're going to do it sonically. We did all of that wonderful arm work, this beautiful syncing that we did with soothing the body. I'll give you the instructions first, and then I'm going to ask everybody to unmute. We're going to make some sound together. Let's use the ah sound. So it'll just be ah. And what I'd like you to do, and Sharon, you could do this with me if you'd like. You can follow our hand gestures, and whatever that seems to suggest to you about how you want to shape that ah, you go for it. So I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll see what kind of chorus. Our bodies are lining up. Let's let our voices line up some too. There's no way to do it wrong. Improvisation is the way to make a thing that didn't exist before. And we got to do a lot of that. We got to do a lot of that. So if you will unmute, please. And I will start us out with an ah, you join. And then however the spirit moves you based on what our hands are doing, you modify that ah, okay? All right. So here I go. I'm muted.
Yes! Yay! Thank you, Eve, so much.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you. We appreciate your presence, your participation, your energy, your spirits. We praise your ancestors. We're grateful for you. Cherie and Celia, we thank you for this labor of love and for the opportunity to participate and to join up again and again and again. A lot of you on here probably feel this way too. Cherie's work saved my life. And so I really don't think I'd be here, Cherie, if it wasn't for the work that you've done. So that I get to follow you around and show up places is a blessing. And Celia, you embody and you are what I know is the truth in my soul. And so I get to learn from you. And it is a privilege. So thank you. Thank you both. And thank all of you.
Each and every one of you.
Yeah.
Thank you. To make this moment happen. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so Cherie, we will follow your lead.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have a little bit. We have a little bit of time. If you're willing to hang in there a little bit longer, I wanted to ask you a question, and I asked Celia to come up with a question for you too, in the hopes that possibly some other folks would like to either put their question in chat or we just say it aloud. And so the question I had, and this is kind of, it just says, how did you, we didn't all just be, how did you get cooked? In other words, like, you didn't just all of a sudden say, wow, all the whole Yoruba tradition is that, oh, that's just, I just knew that coming up. And it's like, so an easy way to say it without sounding like, and this is also important. I was going to say, how'd you find God? Right? Okay. But then you sound like the right wing, and I had said, one of the questions I had to Celia is, I said, we were talking about the election and we're talking about spirituality. I said, but that's what they think they're doing too. I mean, that's what the Christian right thinks they're doing too. They're being called by God, to have these positions, So I think that's important for us to think about critically, for those of us, we consider ourselves progressive, and yet, so that was kind of a part B of the first part of the question, which is, you just didn't come out this way, that somehow there was a way, like, how did you find spirit and spirit practice through the work that you do as artists and as teachers, right? Those are the things. And, that other part is maybe just a lingering question for all of us to think about, is that, you know, in terms of what that sense about religion and that religion and versus spirit practice, you know. Probably 5 questions in there, so pick one.
Thank you. I really love and appreciate these questions. For me, I mean, it's a long journey, a lot to say about it, but what I'll share in the context of how I'm feeling in this moment is there was a point, I had been writing already for a while, and I had experiences having my work performed. I had baby experiences of facilitating, but I hadn't really landed in my voice. And there was a moment, I was living in Austin, Texas. All of the elders on my mom's side of the family had died. And so these were people that I had spent a lot of time with. So I grew up in LA, but I got sent back to Memphis a lot. And so my great grandparents and my great aunts and uncles and like